Hey, design friends and fans, this is Cindy Allen, editor-in-chief of Interior Design, and I am absolutely delighted to see you all in a more promising 2021. Today, we're talking about the power of design to influence our lives in positive and profound ways as we celebrate, check this out, 15 years of the Shaw Contract Design Awards. Amazing. Okay, so we have a special trio here for you today. First, I'd like to welcome Todd Jarvis. He's the Global Marketing Director at Shaw Contract. How are you, Todd?
Doing great, doing great. And this is one of my favorite programs, so looking forward to talking about this.
Fantastic. And then, and I love this, we have two designers that actually were judges. So we are going to get, and I expect to get the inside scoop. We have Alan Young, Studio Director, Design Director, and Principal at Gensler in LA. Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How about you?
I'm great. And we have Ronnie Belzaire, Corporate Real Estate Manager at Daimler North America. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having us this afternoon.
And Ronnie, so I hear that you were at Gensler, worked on that incredible Mercedes project, right? And then they grabbed you. They took you.
They did. They made me an offer. I just had to go ahead and at least try or attempt, right?
Yeah, so
can't
it's
say
so
no to them.
Yeah, it's so interesting to have you on that side of the table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, welcome all of you. I can't wait to talk about the awards. 15 years, that means you had something really, really good. And I love the idea of you start with a germ, it's a small awards program that then becomes global. So Todd, tell us about the journey.
Yeah, I mean, it did start small, and it really was primarily a US-centered design contest. But over the last 8 years, we've built this up to, this year we had 469 entries from 29 different countries around the world. So it truly has been a global celebration of design.
Yeah, and I always say that, like, when you have a good idea, in some ways, as you look back, it's like how could this not happen, right? And as an editor, and I'm sure designers, you as well, you see these projects and you see them all pulled together, having Shaw in every single project. It's something that's really special to see all of that, as a unit. Ronnie, what was it like for you as a judge? Was this your first year?
Yeah, this was my first year judging. And I must say, I think in the midst of us being in the US, you kind of lose sight of everything else that's happening in the big wide world outside of the US. And being able to see all the projects that came in and being able to see how Shaw's product actually is used all over the world. And it's not just our little bubble here in the US. And so I think the magnitude of Shaw's reach became very apparent to me, just seeing the breadth of projects that we were able to review.
Right. That's the thing. And even for Shaw, right, that you get to, because you're working with designers all over the world, but you don't always get to see it completed, right? So how is that to see? It must be thrilling.
It really is. And one thing you talk about the evolution of the design awards. I think some people early on thought that this was a flooring contest, and so they would really focus on the flooring and the projects. And we had to keep going back and say, no, this is about the overall design. The only thing we ask is that there's at least a little bit of Shaw contract flooring in the project somewhere. But I hope the judges found that we didn't focus really on the flooring at all. If that happened to be the star of the show, great. But it is about the overall design, and that's what they really looked at to judge on.
No, I think, and by the way, I know that to be true, I promise out there, because I remember even years ago asking about what some of the flooring was, and nobody kind of knew, but the projects were great. And there was Shaw. So I can attest that you care about the whole project. Alan, what was it like being a judge for you?
Well, the thing that I thought was really great is I've never been part of a competition that had entries from so many places in the world, and it gave you a chance to see what's in common and what's not in common, right? And just see kind of the cultural influences and how that was dealt with in the design arena. I think was really fantastic. In fact, we spent most of our time talking about projects. We had US, we had China, we had Australia, we had Germany. I mean, it was all over the map.
Yeah. No, I know it's really exciting. I know because we do it for Best of Year and we get projects from all over the world, and how it opens your mind, Ronnie, as you said, like in some ways as a designer, you're overwhelmed with the work you have and you kind of are in your design bubble. And typically in our world it's a good design bubble, but to see beyond really is inspiring. So tell me how it even started. Like, what was the why behind starting it?
Yeah, Cindy, there's really four things. Number one is to recognize the impact of design and the work that designers do, and has such a profound impact on people's lives. The second thing is just a chance to learn and share some really great stories, and that's what's really been exciting for me. The third is to provide an opportunity for us to celebrate with our clients, and finally, just a chance to build community among the winners and the judges.
Yeah, and so Todd, the pandemic happens, you have this huge program and you guys are like, oh my God, how are we going to manage this, right? So you had to pivot very quickly too.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Cindy, we considered not running the Design Awards in 2020 with everything going on. And that lasted for about 3 seconds. And one of my colleagues said, you know what, now more than ever, we've got to celebrate design this year. We've got to find a way. So a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation, pulling something together that used to be all face-to-face and doing it 100% virtually with 26 jurors from 13 countries around the world. It was a big undertaking, and up until the very last second, I was nervous that it wasn't going to come together. But the technology worked, and it was there's nothing like being face-to-face. But I think we did the best we could, on a lot of different time zones, and I appreciate everybody being flexible with that. There was nobody complaining about staying up late or getting up early, and we had every continent in the world except Antarctica represented with great designers. So it was just came off really well, I thought.
Yeah. So Ronnie, give us a little bit of a background in terms of being a judge. How many times did you all get together?
Well, we were split into, I think it was 4 or 5 pods, right, Todd? Kind of
4 different ones.
Yeah, taking pools of certain project types, right? And so initially, there was a group of, I think there were 6 of us in my particular pod initially, and I think that's happened in all the other judging pods as well. And so you kind of just have conversation about, okay, here's this project, and let's look at it, and what did you think? And we all individually judged before we came together, and thanks to Shaw for organizing that in such a, clean way. So by the time we came together, we all had already done our judging, and, we had our opinions, and it was interesting to watch how opinions may have shifted just by hearing another judge discuss what the merits of a particular project they cared or they found endearing. So it was interesting to see how many times my mind might have shifted on a project based on hearing what another judge said. So.
Yeah, Alan, I want to hear about that because I have to judge a lot of awards, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes not a good thing.
Yes.
But well, Alan, tell us about it.
Yeah, I wanted to add that after we did our first round, we came together. A few judges were whittled down, and we looked at the entire portfolio, and we selected the grand prize winners. And I have to say that Ronnie and I were on completely different sides of one of the projects that went to the end. I was like,
wait, we got to hear. All right, I want to hear about this.
We were. So this particular project was actually part of the first round judging for my pod. And when I judged it just myself, by myself, I actually didn't think very highly of the project. But by the time we got to the group of judges, I really thought about the concept. I really thought about who this project was being delivered for. And I said, is this not what design is about, right? Is it not about making sure that, number one, a client's needs are met, and which project truly meets what, Shaw's, criteria were? And this project met it far and above almost any other one. And so I changed my mindset, and I found myself defending this project in that initial pod. And then it carried over to, being in the final judging round. And Alan definitely was not a fan.
Wait, which project is it?
It's Positive Tomorrow's School for the Homeless. So it's interesting how I shifted my thinking, and somehow me expressing that was able to help some other people be able to see the merits of why this project deserved to be part of one of the grand prize winners.
Right. And, I think in the case of Shaw, you tell me like the mission, because there is a social impact piece of the equation. And to me, this sits right there, right?
Absolutely.
Alan, yeah. Okay.
I would like to say one more thing about that project, and just the, reading through how the designers met the needs of their clients is so important. And that really came through with all the jurors. But one specific thing about this project that I think is really cool is part of the award that people get for winners is there's a $5,000 scholarship to a nonprofit of their choice. And in this case, they actually did the work for this school, and then the school was the recipient of the award. So we gave $40,000 to 8 different charities around the globe, and this was one of them, and really, really proud of that.
No, that's amazing. And I would say, like, when I see the winners, you do see a big span, which is always nice to, put that out there in the world. That's so far different than Alan, I'm sure you were a pro, the Robot Spaces International Consulting Firm.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is we spent most of our time talking about those 2 projects, right? So once we got to that place and my coming around was, my position was with the school that it could be designed with more finesse. But then I realized that it wasn't about the finesse. It was about who was the captive audience, who was the experience for. It was for homeless children who had no stimulation whatsoever except for what was on the streets. And then to compare that to the international consulting firm, which is an absolutely gorgeous project, right? It's like perfect. And I was a little afraid Ronnie was going to be like, no, you can't like that project because it's too beautiful. And I'm like, but no, we were all on the same page with that right out of the gate.
That's, first of all, I'm glad this came up because it is a lovely juxtaposition to see the 2. And I would say that one is super high design minded, right? And the other one is sort of heart out to the community. And so it's really great. I'm sure Shaw is happy about that too, to see that the range was so big. And Ronnie too, that you were open to listening to what your other judges, thought about it, and then you became an advocate. So that was really special.
Yeah.
And I think if I could add to that, with when Ronnie was describing this to the other jurors, some of them in very different situations in other countries, socially, maybe the way people are taken care of, and when she explained maybe what these students had when they left the school, maybe going home to living in a car or a shelter. And I don't think a lot of the jurors understood that. They didn't get that necessarily reading through the design intent initially. And she brought tears to a lot of our eyes. So it was really special.
Oh, Ronnie, I'm getting the chills. That's so beautiful.
I wasn't trying to make people, I wasn't selling a sob story. It was truly like, this is the power of design. This is what design can do when effectively used for all of what it means to be a designer. So I just believed in and they wrote a beautiful concept too. That's what it was. You could read the heart of what this project was trying to do via their concept. Because a lot of times we lean on the pictures only, right. And a lot of designers also miss when writing a concept, right? They write something and you're like, okay, all right, great. Guess it's a good thing your project looks good. But they wrote something that actually touched my heartstrings to actually then make me take a second glance at the images in a different way.
Yeah, no, and it's clear, and it is a beautiful story all around. There's another one, Alan, that I was looking up that I thought, well, this one, the Eternal Woman's Health in Australia, that one has a pretty good message and is a pretty gorgeous looking project too, right?
Yeah, and what we were most intrigued that project was actually in my first round, and I was a huge advocate for it. And it was interesting. I was the only man in the initial judging. And so I was coming at it really from a design perspective and kind of the finesse, but it was really great to hear from the woman's perspective, the fact that this was an experience that was unlike what they have experienced in any other health environment, right? That it was catered not to pander to femininity, but it was about just living and craft. And there was a warmth to it and a scale to it that's made it feel really approachable. So we were really excited about that project. And then when it went to the finals, it just continued to kind of build momentum. It was one of those quiet ones. It wasn't an obvious choice at the beginning, but I think when you start to measure it against all the other projects that there were to look at, it just really fit in well.
Yeah, one thing that folks don't know when they're not judging is that you're also looking at the whole project. And sometimes there are some good elements that are like really super wow, and then the project falls apart. You know what I mean? Like people don't know. But that one was like felt very complete.
I would agree. The first time I saw it, because it wasn't in my initial judging round, I just saw a quiet strength to that project that I thought was just beautiful. So
yeah, there was one also that, the People's Choice. I thought the People's Choice, first of all, what people are the People's Choice? Was it going out online? How did that work?
Yeah, it's really the firm can connect with all of their contacts, their clients, their fellow designers, and yeah, the People's Choice was actually in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Our first winner ever in Malaysia. Yeah. It's called the Swab, which is a big European insurance company, and the firm's name is Box Design in KL. But they just pushed this really hard and had great engagement online, and really had a significant gap between them and the next closest winner or next closest contestant for the People's Choice.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty great. And by the way, Shaw, the carpet in there looks pretty fab too in that one, right? Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. You guys also love that project?
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought up the carpet looked good in the images, because there are a few projects that might have looked amazing, but to me, if this is Shaw's project, then contest, then I feel like we should be able to see the flooring shine some way in your design. And sometimes the flooring was just too understated in some other projects. And so I would agree that this one, it definitely showcased the product really well. And it's funny because I actually was in Kuala Lumpur last Christmas. So I had an Asian holiday, but when the world was still open. So it was really cool to be able to see a corporate project come out of Kuala Lumpur when I had spent a good week in Malaysia. So that was pretty awesome to kind of connect those two things together.
Yeah, it's really exciting, right? Like it feels so random and it's like, oh my God. And that is a really, really beautiful project. Alan, was there another one in the group that you'd like to mention?
There was another stunning project. And the thing that was, I think the most remarkable about that project was there was a backstory that one of the judges was able to kind of help explain culturally what a lot of the symbolism was and what the movement was and how sophisticated she thought that was. It was one of those projects that everyone looked at and said, no, this is a beautiful, beautiful project. And it kind of was always at the top. That was also in my initial judging. But at the end of the day, everyone saw that, but the debate was not about that project. It was about all these other projects that I think had a little bit more of this nuance of the emotion, right? The connecting to the human experience and not obvious, but true winners in the end. So.
Yeah, when I'm looking at judging, I am also looking at the content in terms of how well-rounded everything is. And I see here, there are office spaces like for Adidas and consulting firms, but then also there's one here, Japara, the Regent Aged Care Facility. So seeing that in the mix with the homeless, with the women's health, that's when you feel like, oh, we really have what's out there, what's really happening in the world in terms of design.
Yeah. There was one more, and it was the project that had very little color to it.
Yeah.
It was
That was
Almost
the
turned-
Onur
The
group
black-
in Turkey, in Ankara, Turkey.
Yes, that
Yes.
one. Yeah.
And it was such an unusual project. At first, we thought it was a black and white submittal. And then we recognized that no, that there was this nuance, this kind of underbelly of tone that made it interesting. So I think that's the other thing the jurors were looking for, is we were looking for compelling stories that had great experiences, but also interesting ideas, people thinking about design in a way that we just don't always think about. So it wasn't just about beauty, it was about content, it was about people and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, in that particular project, I think the textures popped out so much in the photography that you had no choice but to get reeled in by it. To Alan's point, we thought it was just black and white photography, but no, it was actual, this is the way the space is designed. And you could just see how all of it came together in such a beautiful way.
Did you both, as jurors, did you both feel satisfied at the end of meeting with everybody, and in terms of who won and who got recognized?
Yeah, I think we definitely did. At first, we were like, well, I mean, how many are we really going to award? Because technically, Shaw gave us a balance, but didn't say you have to stick to this number or this count. But by the time we had all, convened and had our various conversations, and these were lengthy conversations for hours, with some of us really late at night and some people really early in the morning. But I think we all got off that final call feeling we did a really good job selecting a variety of projects that truly deserve this honor.
Perfect. Okay, so Todd, explain how it all works and how many people win and the categories.
Sure. So all of the entries come in from all over the globe. Those are submitted on our website. And as I said, there this year over 469 entries from 29 countries. So those all come in and are really represented by market segment. We call them our category winners. So the initial round of judging with the 26 jurors, they picked by category the winners for each. And then that group of winners were all put back into a bucket, so to speak, and went to the final judging that Ronnie and Alan, we asked them to participate in that. And that's where the final winners come from. And that is just the best of design, regardless of category or market segment. And then we had 7 winners there. And then there was one People's Choice winner that was really, sent out online to be voted on.
All right. No, that's lovely. Because I always like, as I'm sure designers are always creative, you like to have the flexibility, right? To give what you need to give to recognize people and not be so constrained by, I don't know, some sort of rules.
That was very important to us. Yeah, that was very important to us as we discussed this. And I think everybody had to be brought along through the process. And there was really no clear, right out of the gate, everybody said, this is a winner. It was somebody had to be brought along. More people had to be brought along than others. But at the end of the day, at least I felt, I learned a lot from the process and my eyes were opened by the process. And I think it actually has made me a better designer because I've had an opportunity to have different points of view, just to reiterate the things that I believe in can be expressed in a really great way.
That's lovely. All right, I want to talk about the trophy because it's super cool, and I understand it was made in Belgium. Todd, tell us about it.
Yeah, it was designed and made in Belgium. It's 3D printed. Actually, I've had some issues getting those trophies across borders. Customs in certain countries are difficult. So we just were struggling this week with getting the one into Turkey. But I think now we have everything properly delivered. So, and then the winners by segment actually receive a cube from the Museum of Metropolitan Art in New York, which is also a really lovely memento of their win.
Got it. Okay, so this is what I want to know. What did everybody learn in terms of doing it virtually? Because it starts as, oh my God, this is a disaster. Then it's like, okay, we have to make it work. And then you're like, there are some positives about this too.
Yeah. I would say the positive is this idea that I could just be in my pajamas at home and not have to worry about traveling and being seen by anybody physically. And then another positive is it allowed for a larger group to be able to come together from various places versus it being maybe US centric just because of where Shaw is located. So being able to speak to various designers from around the globe, I'd never really interacted with any designers in Asia or Australia. So to be able to communicate with these individuals and try to and start to understand their sensibilities and how they think about design and what they think about design was an amazing benefit for me personally.
Yeah, Alan, didn't you feel the same way that, now with Zoom, I mean, all the good and bad with Zoom, but that you could, boom, make a new friend from China, from clear across the world?
It's great. And I think the other thing that the format allowed us was focus. Everyone was focused on the same thing at the same time. So I've been in competitions before when you're in a room and it's surrounded by projects. And sometimes it's really difficult to get all of the jurors to stay kind of committed and focused on what we want to discuss. Having everybody do their individual review, I was able to take notes, I was able to prioritize. Then when we came together, I had a lot of opinions and I was able to share them. But we were all looking at the same thing at the same time. And I thought that was really, really beneficial. The collegial not being close to people was hard. It always is.
Yeah.
And we're all living through that now. And we'll be over that someday. But
Yes.
it was a great experience.
Yeah. So Todd, also for Shaw, you guys must have been like, well, thank God we did this, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And having lived through 7 of these before this year and really see the power of people that all have a shared passion around design and how, I'll be honest, I've never seen groups of people come together as quickly as through this program. It's really, really exciting to see that. But I was afraid because we wouldn't be face-to-face that we would lose that this year. And I think it still happened even though it was virtually. And again, people were together for 2 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours, but not maybe 2 or 3 days. But you counter that with, what we're asking for jurors to leave their offices and walk away from billable hours. I think this, is something that we'll look at going forward, even when we, hopefully are back to a bit more opportunities to be face-to-face. So I think a blend of that could be really good.
Yeah, I think that's what we're learning, right? Like, we don't always have to be somewhere, but when we want to, it's going to be really, really special. But I can't thank you enough for going forward with it. Anybody who knows me knows that I love an awards program, but there's a reason for it, because really, really want to honor that work, that stellar work I mean, a project can take years, that passion and the client and the relationship between the designer and the client and the manufacturer all together, it needs to be shown. It needs to be honored. It needs to be celebrated. And so I was just so delighted that on your 15th anniversary, you went through a big challenge like we all did, and you came out amazing on the other side with so much inspiration to share. And a huge thanks to Shaw for that.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And we just couldn't be more happy with what happened and already getting to work on how we look at 2021.
Right. Well, look, you are fantastic. You guys were amazing. Thank you, Todd, Ronnie, Alan. Shaw Contract Design Awards, recognizing projects that are not only beautifully designed, but those that make a social impact on the community and on the occupants of the space. Now, Todd, where can people go to see all the winners?
If you go to our website anywhere in the world, shawcontract.com, and you look under design, and you'll see a section on design awards, and you'll have all kind of information there to see the winners. You can see the bios of the great jurors that we had this year, and even some of the history of the last 14 years prior of this program.
Super. So like a big round of applause, 15 years for the Shaw Contract Design Awards. Yay! Thank you so much, and keep on keeping on. I can't wait to see you guys in person. Big hugs. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Cindy.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Alan and Ronnie.
Very welcome.